Alex Navarro.
Dan Reichert.
Throughout the course of our lives as people that watch pop culture and entertainment properties, we have at
consumers,
times,
if you will.
We are consumers. We have at times both been, to varying degrees, at varying times, South Park fans.
Yes.
They made another game.
Yes, they did. This is, I am to understand, a game that is, if not the exact same, very much in the same spirit as the last game, South Park: The Stick of Truth, which I actually liked a lot.
I thought that was a really fun game. That game had the that could have gone very badly because most South Park games...
Because it had gone badly so many times in the past.
The first-person shooter in '98, the Tenderman's Revenge on XBLA in 2012.
God.
Like, they have a long and storied history of shitty Jeff Love Shack and South Park Rally
games.
Yep.
So that game was developed by Obsidian. They made a pretty solid RPG out of what South Park is, like kind of an open world fan servicey thing. And so this is Ubisoft San Francisco?
This is Ubisoft San Francisco, yes.
Okay.
So I'll show you some of the environmental stuff here real quick.
Yes.
So as you move around the world of South Park, which is the same map, I mean, it's still South Park.
Right.
Actually, let me pull that up.
Still wandering around the town, different regions, different zones.
Yeah, and the layout is very, very similar to Stick of Truth. There are changes that have come with the changes in the show, like
Right.
Skeeter's Bar is now an upscale like wine bar. The micro brew place is here.
Right.
And then over here, remember the whole shitty part of town, Sodo Sopa thing?
Yes, the thing where the whole gentrification episode, yes.
Yeah, over by Kenny's house here. So that's going
Okay.
on. But yeah, the storage facility is still up here. The road to Canada is up here.
Is Al Gore still hanging out inside that storage facility?
I did not find Al Gore in
Okay.
this one. I hated that boss fight in the last one.
Yeah, that
was
wasn't
a
good.
Giant pain in the ass. But you got the fast travel here. Got these things that Jimmy will. His character is Fast Pass.
Right.
It's a superhero alter ego.
Right. So this is taking from the arc where all the kids were superheroes, and they're sort of doing a superhero parody here. Like the first video they showed of this was them basically doing a giant Marvel dig where they talk about their like film franchise plans and all that, and they actually did a prequel episode.
Yep.
That was all about that shit. Like this season.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing. Is Cartman wants to make the Coon and Friends franchise.
Right.
Cartman is the Coon. That's his superhero.
That is the name of his character.
That
Sure is.
That's his superhero.
God.
So he's putting this crew together. I did not like those episodes. Let me do this real quick, and then we can keep talking. I just don't want to stand in this garage forever. So you get new friends,
right?
New superhero friends, and you can call on them to do things like
essentially
move
your party members.
Yeah. So you can do diabetic rage here. You know, Scott Malkinson has diabetes, so he comes in.
Okay.
Anyone who knows anything about diabetes knows they get pissed off if this happens. So you fart in his face a bunch. He gets mad.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say maybe the medical the medical science behind this is not 100%.
I haven't looked into that. I didn't research that for the review. Oh, also here, this is one of the collectibles. I think this is very funny. There's this Yowie Art that is a bunch of, like, if you've seen that episode, it's Tweak and Craig and Love, and these people make anime drawings of them.
That was honestly one of the only episodes of the last few seasons I genuinely really liked.
That was a really funny
fun,
idea.
sweet, weird episode, and that's kind of the stuff I generally tend to appreciate most in this show.
Yeah, and like the guy who wants you to collect that art, like says like, oh yeah, it's Yowie Art. It's extremely popular and thoroughly confusing art form.
Yep.
And so you go around collecting that stuff. Let's see. Oh, I just went right back into Cartman's house. Let's see if his mom's here. Wait.
Did you lose your crown? Oh, if it isn't the neighborhood vigilante.
You got a double mom situation happening here.
That's not
supposed to happen.
That's a shoot, brother.
All right.
Nice to see Eric making quality friends. Well, I hope you're having fun.
Oh, I see what happened
Yeah,
here.
that's not supposed to happen at all.
Eric
So this is actually this is completely unrelated, but this is actually a bug I've seen in other games recently, where they do this thing where they have a character that is existing in the open world version of the level, and then when you get to the cutscene version, another character is laid over top of the one that's animated in the open world scene. Mafia had that bug a couple of times.
Really?
I've seen it in a few other games. Like I don't know, it's just some sort of layering technique thing that gets borked up. And by no means am I an expert, but I've seen it happen a few times.
I have never seen that before.
That's a new one. All right.
That's interesting. All right. Well, you can see in the back of Cartman's house, there's still the, this is the Koopa Keep from the last one. Oh,
right.
Shit. I don't think I've checked this out. So I'm loading up an old save. I beat the game now. This is a save from about 8 hours in.
How long would you say it is? Because the last one was 12 to 15?
Yeah. This one, I spent over 20.
Okay, so there's a little more to it.
It's a longer one. I'll say that it did really keep me interested the whole way through. A lot of that has to do with the combat and the variety of characters and stuff you get in your party. I'll show some of that off in a bit. But yeah, this whole game, like if you've ever been a fan of South Park, it is just kind of jam-packed with references. And, the first one was as well. Like,
yeah, I mean, the first one was very much a fan service game.
Yeah, like that picture is probably him at Casa Bonita, right?
Right. I believe Casa Bonita is part of the DLC package for this game. Like there is some sort of like wave mode or something, and that takes place at Casa Bonita.
Oh, okay. That's probably the sea people, right? So I like doing stuff like this, like looking in all the kids' closets
and just seeing
it's just
all the
this
different
museum of like, okay, I remember that episode. Okay, yep, this thing. 2012 election. The Denmark thing, that was the last season. I didn't like that whole season-long Denmark thing. I thought that was a real weak season.
Yeah, again, like the last few seasons, like there have been episodes that I liked, but by and large, I have just not found a lot to love in much of what they've been doing.
Yeah, a lot of it kind of feels like they've been doing this for 20 years now, and like they have directly alluded to being tired of doing South Park. Like that one episode, the season that ended with Landslide.
Right.
It very much was just like, are we just going to keep on doing this forever?
Maybe that should have been a series finale, but also you're making too much money for that to ever happen.
Yeah, and it seems like, hey, they're doing it. Sometimes it's funny.
Yeah.
Here, we'll do a fight here. So these are the sixth graders.
All right, yeah, I remember the sixth graders
in the South Park world. So you can do the Paper Mario thing where if I hit them first, I'll get the combat advantage. If they hit me first, they'll get the combat advantage. Attack first. So
I will say you've made a pretty stunning likeness of yourself here.
Thank you. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So let's get my team together here. How many do I have here? Okay, so I've only got a handful here. By the end, you've got like 12 people here.
Right.
And you can really, like, there's a lot of variety in the attacks and everything. I really, really like this stuff. So let's bring in Human Kite.
All right.
He's got some, like, healing and protective abilities. That's Kyle.
Human Kite!
We got Captain Diabetes. Okay, I like Super Craig. He's just kind of a
He's just Craig with S on his chest.
Yep, and he just punches people and flips them off.
Sounds good.
So nothing too fancy. I like Fast Pass. Let's see. I really like his super.
Coon is back.
So you can pick your team, and they've all got their built-in abilities here. The one on the far left is their ultimate ability, and that's like a shared meter.
Right.
But I really like with your character. So you pick a class at the beginning. It looks like I only have my first class right now, which is I forget what this one was called.
It had fireworks, so I can see why you went for it.
I'm Blaster and Cyborg. You see over there? So I actually do have two. So I can go in here. Oh, do I have Assassin as well? Okay, I guess I've got 3 classes now. So it keeps letting you add classes and classes and classes.
Right.
And so by the end, you can really kind of mix and match. Like, okay, so for my area 1, I'll have, instead of the magnet thing from the Cyborg tree, I'll go over here and I'll pick this knife thing that inflicts bleeding from the Assassin tree. And it shows you down there, like, this is a grid-based thing you're about to see. Like, more of a Fire Emblem than a Paper Mario, So you are moving around and, like, this stuff matters down here, what you're seeing. Like, the dot is where you are.
The patterns do make a difference.
Yeah, it totally does. And there's just a ton of shit going on here. So your artifacts are, like, you're rewarded with artifacts for a lot of exploration stuff and finding things in the environment. And so you get major slots, which are these purple ones. You got minor slots, which are greens. And then eventually you get these epic slots.
Okay.
And so this is basically Destiny.
This is a lot of layers compared to what was in the last game, which was fun, but also was basically the same thing through the entire game, which was a very rudimentary turn-based RPG-style combat system.
Totally. And even the menus were much more, there's more going on here, for sure. So your number, your might level, which is basically a light level, is just adding up all the stuff you have here. And you'll unlock new slots as you go on. There are DNA sequences here that based on what moves you have equipped, it'll, so I change this frequently. So I'll see here that, if I use Sheila here, I'll get plus 20% on all those. So based on my current loadout, I'll put the Sheila DNA in here.
Man, yeah, there's some stuff happening there.
Yeah, there's this crafting system.
Oh, God.
You can make new artifacts and stuff. You can make new costumes. There are tons and tons of costumes. I'll show some of that off. Healing items. You make a macaroni picture if you want to summon Moses from the Super Best Friends.
Right.
Hell, I'll just show you right now. I'm going to some costumes. Where am I at? Man, I have so many by the end of this. So yeah, there are just...
I mean, I think you should stick with what you got because it's
I like what I got.
Yeah, but
I want to show that there's
some options.
There's plenty of stuff, and it gets way more than where I'm at here. Anything else here I should show? So there's the character sheet stuff. This is basically challenges for XP. This is where you can track all your allies and everything. All your different summons. I think I just have Moses and Ned and Jimbo now. And then the time farts, which I'll show some of that. That's both for exploration and combat. Let's just make a fight here.
All right.
Take
them down. Take down these 6th graders.
All right. And so the size of the grid does change based on what, like some of them are more confined, some of them, like boss fights, are more open.
Somebody wake me.
So we'll start here, and you see in the bottom right, it's kind of this Final Fantasy X thing. If you can see who is coming next, you can see the order here. So okay, I know I'll have him and Cartman before I have to worry about retaliating. So here, let's see. I could probably hit 2 of them, maybe if it'll reach that far. Nope, just 1. All right, I'll make this one bleed. And there is less of the like Paper Mario input stuff. Like, so this one, I hit A to select it, and then I just press that when the circle comes in.
Okay.
So there's way less of the timing based, like, you know, Paper Mario jump on their head and hit A.
Right.
There's just a few.
It's just a very basic timing thing.
Yeah, or it's mash on the button.
Okay.
So I know after this move, it will be the red hooded guy's move. So I want to show you down at the bottom middle, I've got that LT plus RT. That means I have a time fart available.
All right.
So after I finish this, I'm going to interrupt it with a time fart pretty quickly. It doesn't look like I can do much with Cartman from his current position, so we'll just put him up here and end the turn. And then as soon as this guy starts moving...
Crush you, pussy. Microaggression.
Oh, real quick, I hit A there. So... if someone says a microaggression during a fight, if they say you're crying like a girl or call you a pussy or anything like that, you can hit A to interrupt them in their turn, and I think it does some damage as well.
All right, then.
That is something that PC Principal teaches you.
Yes.
And there's a pretty funny tutorial where he just stands there like with his fist ready to fight and says a bunch of things, and you have to spot when it's a microaggression.
Okay.
So he'll just be like, I heard you like eating soup. And so as soon as he says something, like that's how you identify it and you learn that skill. So
all right.
Pretty clever way to do that. Okay, so here, that guy is peeing or something into a condom, I think, and...
also bleeding.
Oh, yeah, that's not condom-related. That's
right. That's an unrelated bleeding, yes.
Yeah. So that, when it's his turn again, he will do a really damaging thing. So I want to get my guys out of there. I did not get a chance to do my time fart, so I'll get back to that. No one needs healing right now. I'm trying to think of what the best thing I can do with Kyle is.
He does kind of look like Butters there, but yeah. I mean,
yeah. It's the blue. Okay, so I can just kind of throw this kite down for protection. So I'll do that.
Never fear, kite's here.
So that's going to protect my guy. It's basically giving him a little bit of an overshield. Super Craig. Man, this is not the best loadout for this fight. I can't do a whole lot. In turn.
Go nuts, new kid.
Okay, now I can get out of the way. A lot of moves have knockback. I think this other one I have. Yeah, so you see the arrow there? So this will knock him back and change where that damage is going to happen.
All right.
He'll knock him back.
Ow! Buttlord's coming out blasting.
It should make us safe.
Dramatic cool move incoming.
Yeah, and you can't stand in the same place as a buddy. Can't do a lot
so
here.
Are all the red marked squares like you can't place yourself there?
I mean, you can, but you're going to take damage if it gets like... That guy's coming up next, and he's going to throw that condom or whatever it is.
Okay.
So I'm going to end the turn here, but I will be able to interrupt him with the time fart now.
Okay.
So watch this. So you hold an LT and RT.
Okay.
And right now I can either just cancel his turn or I can do the pause thing, which I believe also cancels the turn but lets me punch him while time is frozen.
All right.
So I'll show you this here. So I'm freezing it with the time fart. And then I can run up. You can choose to hit a bunch of people. I usually like to really focus one. So right there, I've done enough damage to kill him. So that's going to interrupt that. That's probably going to kill him.
That's 2 down.
Yeah, so that's extremely helpful. And 3 turns later, I'll have another time fart ready. Okay, I got a booger. So instead of doing the standard defense stuff, you just hit A after you get hit, and you recharge a little bit of health, and you fill your meter at the top. And that's your ultimate meter.
Okay.
So again, it's not the Mario thing, or even the last game's thing, where it's like, oh, right when they hit you with the stick, you hit A, and then you nullify the damage. It's just you hit it afterwards, and that's always the case. So there is a little less with that, but there is way more with this kind of grid-based strategy.
Is it challenging, or is it just complicated?
At times it can be challenging, and like I've gone into fights with just totally the wrong layout, and I've had to go back to the drawing board and been like, okay, so these guys get in really close, so I should have some guys like Super Craig who can, just do their stuff.
Who can do the melee stuff.
Yeah, like I could kill him right here, but I want to show this ability off. So I can hit Y. This is going to enrage him, and it gives me a shield. So that means on his turn, he has to attack me, but I've got a shield.
Right, so it
it's
does
basically,
nothing.
Yeah, unless he's got something that can get through shields or whatever, I'm free to just kind of attack. Let's go ahead and finish him off here. He should be burning and bleeding after this.
Not bad, new kid.
And you recharge all your health and everything in between fights, so you don't have to worry about that. Let's go ahead and show off a summon while we're here. I got Moses. Let's just have Ned and Jimbo come in with 8 health left. This will be
Why not?
overkill. And, the first one had these two. It had what? Jesus and
yeah, there was a handful of them. I don't remember what they all were, but there were a handful.
I think Mr. Hanky, Jesus.
Yeah,
this one's got a handful.
Okay, that was pretty badass. This is the part where the bad guys regret their life choices.
That should be it. And it's not leveling up on a per character basis. It's just kind of your hero
team
rank.
Yeah.
And so as I get to level 6 here, I'm going to get another artifact slot. The XP bonuses there. If you get to the end of one of these, it drops some stuff off in the toy chest at your house. So little bonuses.
Okay.
So let's see what we should check out now. There are main story missions. There are side ones. I can pull up a mission list here. So the blue ones are the main story missions. These are all these side things. So there are things like the collectible stuff, like getting all the Big Gay Al's cats. There's the Yowie project thing. There's this guy that works at the police station that's trying to get a job in entertainment, so you're putting up his headshots all over town.
I think I remember that character. Like he's like a psychologist or something, like a police psychologist.
Yeah.
That like is all like his whole gimmick is that he just tells terrible, offensive jokes, and then he wants you to distribute his headshot. I think
that's it. It must be from a newer season because I don't remember it that well, and I remember most of the older stuff
that's from
pretty
a few seasons ago. I think.
I'm gonna warp up to the main mission here.
All right.
I don't know what it is. If the episodes are less memorable these days, but I remember like the first 12 to 15 seasons really, really well. And I've watched every episode past that, but I just even last season, if you ask me what happened, it's like remember kind of like Garrison ran for president, and there was that Denmark trolling thing going on.
Yeah. For me, it's very much that it's like you said, like it does feel like a lot of it is just being phoned in. Like there are individual episodes and jokes that I sometimes remember and enjoy, but like a lot of it is just feels very lazy.
Yep.
And so, I mean, part of what I liked about The Stick of Truth was that it kind of had the whole breadth of, like, the previous South Park, history and lore to kind of pull from. It wasn't just, like, recent seasons they were referencing. Right. This, I mean, at least from what I've seen, and, I mean, obviously it has, like, some of the town stuff from the last game, but, like, it feels like maybe some of the storyline stuff, at least, is, like, pulling from mostly more recent history.
I would say it's a mix. It's got recent stuff like the member berries and all that stuff, but, I mean, it's still
PC Principle is a fairly recent addition.
PC Principle's new. Soda Sopa's new.
Right.
But there's plenty of stuff like, raisins and things that have been around forever. Even Ned and Jimbo that they don't really use.
And I mean, the
superhero
storyline is like almost 10 years old.
Yeah, that was 2009.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, we're getting old.
I mean, at this point, like 2 years ago feels like 7 decades. Like time no longer holds meaning.
That's true. It was very urgent. Yeah, but why would the Freedom Pals want to talk to us? Unless this is some kind of trap. Relax, coon friends.
So the Freedom Pals are Timmy's group.
Right.
Yeah. Because
you have you have a rivalry going.
Because Cartman wanted them all to be called Coon and Friends. They didn't want that name.
Right.
So they split off. It's the Marvel. So I know very little about comics, but I know that there was a civil war once between Iron Man and Captain America. Is that correct?
There's a little more nuance to it than that, but yes. There was definitely a point where like the heroes were fighting the other heroes.
Okay. So my understanding is that this is a huge parody of Marvel versus DC.
Or at the very least, it's just using that idea and doing its own dumb thing with it.
Right.
Run by a douchebag in a wheelchair.
And I'll say, I actually do like the superhero stuff way more in this video game form than I did in any of the 4 episodes they've done about it.
Okay.
Like, it works, like the powers and everything. Like, it's better for a video game than the show, I think.
Right.
You guys need to stop investing.
The other thing is that, like, in Stick of Truth, they were specifically referencing. I mean, they've done multiple fantasy things, but like at that point, like the Black Friday trilogy was right around the time that game came out, and like they did, and that is still, I think, the best thing they've done in like the last decade.
Yeah, and then also like the Lord of the Rings episode, with all the wizard stuff and everything. Like those are that was some good source material for sure. Whereas this takes bad source material, and I think it's done some really good work with it. Yeah.
They don't have a connection at Netflix.
Oh yeah, so Carmen's trying to like work out the Netflix series and everything. And okay, here's the 5th Coon and Friends one where we introduce a girl and all this stuff.
Right.
Like they're making fun of that stuff. All right, let's try to get some new guys in here.
You don't have too many more to pull from, right?
Yeah, I'll just show off. Diabetes isn't my favorite. Neither is Mosquito. Clyde, I always get. Who is Clyde? Because I think I used to confuse Clyde and Craig a lot.
Clyde. I don't.
Craig, they fleshed out more because he's with Tweak.
Yeah, and he's had some other little arcs here and there.
Yeah.
I don't remember like what Clyde was specifically involved in. I think he's just another one of the random boy characters that just shows up and stuff.
And now has a name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, great, another alt negative. Coon on the plate.
Can't do much here.
Show them what you're made of, butthole.
And yeah, like this game is 100% the South Park thing, you know, like it does a little bit of political stuff, but not much.
Right.
How would you like a
it just kind of South Park has always touched on the hot button issues, you know, whether it's 9/11 stuff or Scientology or, you know, the image of Muhammad and all that stuff.
And this, you know, to varying degrees of willingness to actually go in on it versus like just kind of taking that idea and making their own dumb goof around it without really saying anything.
Yeah, and this is no different, you know, like obviously the political climate's insane right now, and this game touches on some of that stuff, you know, like even the show is on the stuff on like cisgender bathrooms and PC principal and, you know, stuff like that. And this touches on that stuff, like you see right there, the bathroom in the background, the sissies one. So it just like this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It just touches on it. I wouldn't say it just goes any harder or softer than South Park usually does. So, I mean, if you don't like what South Park does with current event stuff in the past on the show, you're probably not going to like how it handles it here.
Yeah.
I just don't, it's just not particularly surprising what they do here. You know,
yeah,
it's on brand for the show.
I mean, to me, it's only interesting in the sense that, like, it's not that, like, Stick of Truth was completely devoid of that stuff, but it largely avoided it in favor of just kind of focusing on the fan service and, like, a few sort of, like, weird, shocking moments, whereas, you know, some of the stuff you've told me about that's in this game, it's like, you know, some of the issues they're tackling are not, you know, they're not funny things at all.
Right.
And, you know, the South Park style often is to just kind of take something and... I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase this. To take something and to use it, but to not necessarily, like, make any real statement about it.
I would say that's in line with what happens here.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say 95% of this game is about kids playing superheroes.
Right.
With the occasional, like, oh, hey, it's crazy that they're doing this thing.
Right. It's more of a referential aspect than like, an actual, like, satire.
I wouldn't say, with the exception of one thing that is kind of a bigger mission, like, it's just passing little jokes, I guess. It's not really a big part of the story or anything.
Right.
So,
okay.
It is mostly this stuff. It is dressing up and beating up.
And playing superhero, but with, like, you know, South Park style abilities.
Yeah. And I think it does stuff well. Like, it mixes up the combat really well. Like this fight. This is the only one where there's, you know, brain-controlled kindergartners coming after me.
Right.
Which, I don't even remember if it did this the first time I did this fight. But yeah, a lot of boss fights are crazy, and it requires you to really kind of, like, push things around the board and avoid hazards. And
yeah.
I hesitate to say too much here because a lot of what this game does is kind of surprising. Like, oh, it's going to be this during the boss fight. Like, here's one that I don't mind spoiling. It's kind of a smaller thing. There's a part where you and your friends are at, I believe it's Butter's house.
Right.
And, you know, Butter's dad, you've seen the show, is just, like, insane and always grounds Butters and everything. And he tries to ground all the boys. But your character, since you're special, cannot be grounded. He's ungroundable. So everyone else gets kind of, like, frozen in time, like kind of black and white with an aura around them. And you can move around, and by touching them, you unfreeze them.
Okay.
And so, but then every once in a while, he'll do a super attack that regrounds everyone. So, I don't know, little mechanics like that.
Right.
They definitely do bigger stuff that I don't want to ruin.
But, like, references baked into the gameplay.
Yeah. It's been really cool with how it's done that stuff. Boy, I'll do this. I'm not paying super attention to what's going on here, so I'm not doing particularly good.
Hey, you're still alive.
I've got an ultimate here. I'm not sure what Mosquitoes is.
Here we go.
Okay, so it looks like... Can I reach? No, I can't reach Timmy with that. Alright, can't really do shit there. Some kindergartners.
Delta Gamma.
Trying to think of other stuff to talk about here. There is the side stuff. I showed you that on the map. You know, collectibles. There are definitely side stories that don't have anything to do with the main mission that I think primarily serve, you know, for the jokes, but also to level yourself up. Because it will say a recommended might level for every mission. It's totally like a Destiny thing where it's like, you should be 300 before you try to do this story mission. And so you'll go do something that's a reference to the Kanye West episode or something for a little bit. But yeah, there's plenty of side stuff to do. Like I said, it's 20 hours long. There's a lot going on here. Okay, I'm gonna do... Okay, I'll do his super here. There we go. Oh, I'm a Terminator cyborg guy,
Right,
too.
yeah, I remember that you had Cyborg in your class somewhere.
Yep.
That's a lot of gun.
Yeah, I like that ultimate. Pretty good.
See you later, elevator.
Oh, and I was grossed out, so I died afterwards. Warp around. So he is not playable. Timmy never is. Eventually, you'll get people from Freedom Pals.
Okay.
Control. You can do knockback damage.
Roast them. Roast those kindergartners.
Oh, that's pretty good. And it's got little dumb touches, like, Token's head is in a big Tupperware container, so when he pukes, when he's grossed out, it just fills
just
the
stays
side
in
up.
there.
It's just briefly, but like you see
Yeah.
it, it's like, ah. Okay, looks like I'll eke this one out.
See how brave I am?
There is one weird thing it does in some boss fights where they will be building a meter, like building up to a big crazy attack, and it moves and charges while you are like selecting your stuff. So,
Okay.
like, you have to very quickly be like, holy shit, I gotta move here. Or something is chasing you and you gotta get ahead of them. So you don't get to take your time and do the typical RPG, taking your time thing.
Okay.
All right, man, this is I might die here. We'll see. They're all super close to dying. I could use some. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just kill them all here. Yeah, it's one of those things where I kind of begrudgingly watch the show still. Like it doesn't really make me laugh out loud the way I used to look forward to every episode and talk about it the next day, like water cooler type stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just not that anymore. I'm still watching the new ones, but it's not full on like Simpsons bad. Like when Simpsons went bad, it got real bad.
I mean, when Simpsons went bad, it just sort of lost the voice it had to begin with,
Totally.
and just sort of became this sort of generic outlet for celebrity appearances and like the occasional pop culture reference.
And characters becoming parodies of themselves, like
Right.
Homer specifically, who was
Like,
the heart of that show.
As much as I will say that I think that a lot of what South Park does now is kind of like it feels very phoned in compared to the shit it used to be. And I mean, some of that is also probably just my taste changing over time, but
Right.
like the voice is the same. It's still the same type of show.
That's the thing, is like Simpsons was a revolving door of writers and producers and everything, and as a result, the show felt different as the years
Right.
went on. Here, it has felt like we're watching Trey and Matt's style, over 20 years.
Right.
And for the most part, it just really hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Stop hitting me, I bruised you.
For better and for worse.
Oh, I'm up.
But yeah, it's
Sorry,
just,
a little
I
late.
still watch it. I question why sometimes, because it's just,
Hey,
I have 21 episodes, or 21 minutes long, it's not that hard.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just habitual.
Yeah.
Take a load on.
Man, I'm trying to think of what happened the first time I did this fight, where it's like, I don't even remember these kindergartners, and I would have played this like 2 or 3 days ago. It must be like, I guess I probably took Timmy out earlier,
Right.
because he seems to be the one that's summoning them.
Though he was down, and then like it seems like they resummoned anyway.
They summoned
he's-
after I knocked him out? I
he's
thought they
not-
summoned and then I knocked him
But
out.
you knocked a bunch of them out, and then it seemed like they resummoned.
Oh, yeah?
So it might just be that you have to take the main characters down and not really even like focus on
Oh.
the kindergartners.
Well, I'm dead anyway.
Well-
I will just take another look at the town here. We don't have to follow that thread.
Okay.
There's DLC. It's costume stuff.
And then it sounds
me
like
see
there
if I
will
can
be like
load.
DLC like mission stuff down the road, but it isn't out yet.
Yeah. I'll load a 13-hour save here, and we'll just see if I have some new abilities and
Okay.
people and stuff. But that's kind of the main beats. I mean, the story, I would say the first couple hours are definitely the weakest.
Okay.
Because I was pretty down on the game. Like, I don't remember do you remember when I came in the day after I started it?
Yes.
And I was like, man, I'm not really feeling this game.
I remember it was you seemed genuinely bummed out by it.
Yeah, I'd only played a couple hours of it, and the first thing you do is you do like a pooping mini game, which I should show that off because you do that a lot in this game. And it was
That's not necessary. I think I can
we need to
grasp.
show the pooping.
No, I really feel like
Alex.
I get the nuance of what you're talking about here. I
Alex,
don't think
as a
it's,
serious journalist, I have to show off what the game does. Let me find a goddamn toilet.
I think that maybe leaving something to the imagination of the players is perhaps
All right.
worthwhile. I don't want you to give too much away.
All
here.
right, fair enough. So
It
here
is such a
Stop
major
making use
component
some
of the game.
more
That is true. Yeah. All right, so here I have human kite now that I can use to fly up to areas like this. This gets a little bit annoying. Like, you have to like do the whole rigmarole of pointing, selecting them,
getting someone
on the phone
in to do this ability.
Yeah, and then you get this. You got to do the little quick time event. Like, that was slightly annoying. But typically, once you do one of these things, like the area is cleared, or you're
right.
I don't need to come back to this place, stuff like that. So that's one of the headshots there that I put up.
That guy.
Can I go into any of these? I guess I got everything up here.
Let's do this! Yeah!
So yeah, this stuff is mainly just for like clearing areas.
Okay.
You know, like red Lego bricks are lava on the ground.
Tonight.
Oh, so the RB thing here is there's an app called Coonstagram, and you're supposed to just, every time you meet someone that's like a named character, you're supposed to take a selfie with them. So, let's see my mood. There we go. Remember that guy? He was the...
Very vaguely. I don't know.
He was from the early season where they would show the like live action wife dying in the plane crash.
Oh.
And the blood would splatter on her face, and he was having flashbacks of it.
Yeah.
That's way early.
That's way far back. I only barely remember that.
Yep, that's that guy.
God.
Yeah.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you know, if you're concerned that this is all going to be new stuff, it's not. Like,
okay.
There's plenty of stuff that's like, oh shit, Jack-Offisaurs. I haven't thought about them in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think about that every day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
I really appreciate the Jack-Offisaurs because I like it when they try to make a character be as annoying as possible, and they are very good at that. The Jack-Offisaurs are good at that. Kyle's cousin, Kyle 2, or Kyle 1, yeah, Kyle! You know, that guy?
Yes.
Yeah, he's really good. I appreciate a good, annoying character.
Sorry, kid.
Yeah, I can see that.
Sorry, kid.
Oh, I'm locked out of the cop station. So yeah, this is a story thread involved with the police station.
Okay.
Remember the butt milk carton thing? Like that's an
I do
earlier
remember
season
that.
there. Yeah, so it's not all
got
new
that stuff in there. All right.
Even if you're just a fan of old South Park, like there is plenty of old South Park to be found here.
Okay.
So yeah, that's South Park. That's Fractured But Whole. It is definitely a South Park game. I like it better than Stick of Truth. I like the story better. I think there's more to do. I think it justifies the longer length.
Okay. Yeah, it's not just padding.
Yeah. It really made me laugh just to kind of cut this off so people don't expect Canada. Because remember in Stick of Truth, you'd go to Canada.
That's
and
right.
All, like,
there was a whole like magical
stuff.
kingdom thing there. Yeah.
Yeah. So
none of that.
I was wondering if it had the whole like 16-bit thing again, and it was closed off the whole time. Like I couldn't go up this path, and then I beat the game and came back. And I walk up, and it's just a giant wall with, like, I can't tell if it's Terrence or just generic Canadian flappy head guy up top. He's like, go away, nothing to see here, nothing to see here. And then I just stood around waiting to see if he'd say something. He's like, maybe we'll do some DLC or something, but get the fuck out of here.
Okay.
So, like, basically saying, maybe we'll do a Canada DLC.
Maybe.
Don't get excited about it now.
All right.
But yeah, overall, I liked it a lot. Reviews should be, if not up on the site now, very soon. But yeah, I like it better than Stick of Truth, and I like that one quite a bit. So, yeah, if you like South Park, if South Park's humor does it for you, there's a lot of it to be found here. And even if you're not, there's some just fun, light RPG stuff.
Cool. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Alex.